That was my only NFL workout from college to 3 years in Canada. My only NFL workout. The New Orleans Saints brought me down, worked me out, and that's how my opportunity started. And
That's
then shoot,
amazing.
made the team, and then tore my ACL, both my meniscus.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 6 of Moving Mountains. I'm your host, Austin Holland. I'm a college football player with a passion for showing others that with the right mindset, you can move any mountain that may stand in the way of your goals. And I'm excited to bring you weekly interviews with guests where they'll be sharing their stories and how they've overcome a mountain in their life. This week, I'm joined by the Erik Harris of the San Francisco 49ers and a dear friend of mine. Erik, I appreciate you for hopping on, man. Thank you so much.
Man, I love what you're doing with this podcast. It's amazing. It's motivating. It's inspirational. Appreciate you having me on.
Always, man, always. So, first and foremost, I want to give you your flowers. Man, your journey is was a tough one. It was a tough one, and you made it through perseverance and dedication. I just kind of want to. The first thing I want you to kind of speak about is just what has kept you going through everything, through all the no's, through all the yeses, through the ups, the downs. You know, how have you stayed even keel? What has been your rock through everything?
My rock through everything has always been my faith in Christ. Just standing on
Man,
that through all the hard times, and the good times too, giving Him His glory through it all. But I think also with that, I think you go through different seasons of what's motivating you, right? When I first
yeah,
started, it's kind of like, my wife and then my kids came along and stuff like that. So I think each season it gets a little different. Right now, it's just like I want to be inspirational. Going on year 12 pro, 34 years old, just turned 34. So it's like, that's crazy. I think Harrison Smith is the only other safety in my draft class that's still playing. So for me, who didn't make it right away and still playing, so man, it's just trying to be a motivation to other people, and just be inspirational to them.
that's amazing. And I will say, you definitely been like a mentor and a big brother to me. You know, just seeing the way you work and like I tell people all the time, I never forget, right? Like it was that one day we were working out, and I don't know if she was sick, but you brought your daughter in, and you had like went to the side and like you were doing push-ups. You had like put on your back, and we did pull stuff like that. Like that to me, you know what I'm saying, is definitely a role model for sure, like 100%, like where I want to get to, and I know a lot of people definitely want to get to that point. You know, just not only being able to provide, but also being there and present in your kids' lives, and because at the end of the day, I don't have a kid yet, but I mean that's what we all do it for, right? Like that's why I work so hard is for my future kids, so that way they see that their dad was present and did everything possible.
Man, that's the hardest thing to do, honestly, especially for, my profession is, my family doesn't really travel to every city. I've never been that guy that had stability in my contract to just be like, hey, this is where I'm going to be. So
Yeah,
for me, I've always had to come home. I'm home for a few months, and I leave for a few months, and I'm home for a couple of weeks, and I'm leaving back and forth. So it's like, um, it's tough to be present all the time because there's so many things that you're trying to get back to, and you're trying to make up for lost time. But then you have house projects to do and stuff like that. But then you got to balance life in general. So I think the best way, like I said, like you said, I brought her in. I bring my boys through there. It's just to show them how you work. I can buy them
yeah.
things, I can give them things, but the best gift I can give them, you know, is building their character and showing them what it takes.
It's like that saying, what they say, if you teach a man how to fish, or what was this, like, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but if you
Right.
teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
For life. Yeah.
That's a big thing too, because I say, like, I grew up seeing my dad, work his tail off, like, I mean nonstop on the clock. So like that's kind of where I got my job from as well. So let's bring it back, let's bring it back all the way back to day one where you started. So originally from California, right?
Born in California. Yeah. Born in California. Not long. Yeah. My mom and my dad separated when I was 2 months. So my mom moved back to Maryland. So I lived in Maryland until I was in the fifth grade, and that's when we moved up to to Pennsylvania.
I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
man. I'm gonna go ahead and say DMV the best area to live. DMV is definitely the best area to live.
I don't
But
know. They got some athletes out there though.
no lie, you're not lying. So talk about your high school recruitment though. So I know you played multiple sports growing up. So kind of speak about, kind of why football, why I know you had offers, for other sports. So like why was it football that just made you, that's what I wanted to do. Like how'd you know?
It was, I didn't grow up with a dad. I had a single mama, 6 kids. Um, it was my brother's dad at the time who introduced me to football, and I just remember going to practice and hitting kids and really standing out, and the coaches getting hyped because I was hitting everybody super hard. And it was like for the first time, I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, like getting that male role model attention. It was a good feeling. So for me, that's how like that was my staple. Every time I go to a team, make sure everybody knows I'm a hitter. But it was just getting that affirmation from the adult male role model that I didn't
yeah,
have, that wasn't present in my life as a young kid. So it meant a lot to me. But just sticking to it through and through, it just was my passion. I actually got more track scholarship offers than I did football
yeah.
scholarship offers. Um, Whether that's easier just to kind of stick out individually at track in track or whatever, but um, my story's great, D2 and all this stuff, but really, I mean, it probably could have went D1, but what I don't talk about a lot of is I really just messed it up myself by having a low GPA, not taking SATs very seriously. And you had that grading scale. I'm not sure if they still do that in
Yeah.
college, but you had that grading scale, or whatever. Teens would talk to me, hey, we love you, but your grades, you got community college. I'm like, man, I'm not going to community college. I'm not taking that route. I want to play
Yeah.
football right now. I just felt like if I took that route, I was just going to be kind of like the what is, what next type of journey. So I chose to go D2 because my SAT score, my GPA wasn't really an issue at that point. Um, so I chose to go D2. I went to a powerhouse D2 out by Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Cal U of PA. And man, it all worked out, man.
So talk about so just talked about your high school recruitment. So tell us a little bit about your mom and what she meant to you. So I know she wrote a letter to the school, right? Or wrote a letter somewhere, and then that kind of
Yeah, yeah. No, it definitely sparked it. So, my mom, she worked third shift. She worked the graveyard shift. So she would go in at nighttime. My sister, who's the oldest of the six, she would watch me and my four younger brothers. So she would watch us when my mom went to work. And then when she moved out of the house, then it was my turn. So I watched everybody, help everybody get ready, you know. But my mom really did that just so she could be part of our schedule. If we needed a doctor's appointment, she wouldn't miss. She would just sacrifice sleep. I remember plenty of time my mom getting 2, 3 hours of sleep and then waking up, going throughout the day, picking us up, taking us to basketball games, basketball practice, football practice, and just being there. I don't know how she was always there, but she was always there at our games. And I mean, she was always there, biggest supporter. And even when I was going through all the academic stuff and not really being able to get accepted, never signed my letter of intent. She just kept saying like, Eric, it can't end this way. Like it's not going to end this
yeah.
way. Like you got too much
Amen.
talent. You got too much talent. You're a good kid. You just need to get more serious about your schoolwork and learn from this, and that. So she wrote like this letter to Cal PA, this heartfelt letter. I'm like, dang, it was like, I think they felt bad for me low key. That's why they kind of gave me a chance.
Man, that's crazy though, because I feel like a lot of times, I feel like in my journey, I dealt with a lot of like self-confidence, right? Like self-belief. Like
Right.
there was a point in time where I was like, you know what? Like it's me against the world. I'm gonna make it happen. You know what I'm saying? I can do this. I'm made for this. I can compete at this level. I played against the best. I played with the best. And then it's like to have that like extra confirmation from your mom too is everything. Because my dad, I played against like me and my dad. I didn't play like my dad coached me my whole life. When I got to high school, he coached at a different high school. So like I played against
Mm.
my dad in high school, and we lived
Oh
in the
yeah.
same house. Like my dad was
Yeah.
a single dad too. So like, kind of it was tough. Like my dad, he always gave me that coaching experience, that like coach's viewpoint, right? So where it's
Yeah.
like, man, me and you could be out there. You go ahead run a hitch route. Go ahead catch it, get tackled, right? My dad was like, good job, E, good job. But then if I go out there and I run a hitch and I catch it, I make the guy miss and I go score. Man, why are you so like? He's just gonna find
Yeah.
something to nitpick, man. He's just gonna find that one
Yeah.
thing. But I feel like that definitely made me better, but it also kind of did. I feel like gave me that like, damn, my dad don't even believe in me. But at the end of the day, like it was him, what I'm saying, pushing me to do more, be extra, which I feel
Right.
like has gotten me to where I am. But
Yeah.
that self belief, and that what's the word? I guess like that extra confidence boost, with your mom
Yeah.
believing in you is everything, right?
No, it definitely is.
So yeah, so let's go. So who is Erik outside of football? So for
Hmm.
everybody knows you about what you done on the field. Who is Erik in high school and college, and who is Erik now outside off the field?
Who am I? I mean, man, I love I enjoy my family, love family time. Um, I can be like in the mix with a lot of people, but then I also need my quiet time and just my me
Yeah,
time too. You know what I mean? So like get overstimulated. My wife, she loves hosting people, having people over, and I love having our people over. But she knows I'm gonna disappear for like 5 minutes, go to the bedroom, recollect myself, just have some quiet time. Then I'm come back out to
yeah,
the party. But just spending time with my kids, man. I just left and just jumping on the trampoline and just it's so crazy how easy it really is to fill your kids' love tank, but how difficult we make it and how much parents miss that mark because life is crazy and we're all about providing for our kids and like breaking that cycle and trying to give them more than what we had as kids and stuff like that. But it's really just your time, your quality time with them, being present. You know,
yeah,
bought a new boat, they were happy about it, but then the next day it was, oh, I jump on the
yeah,
trampoline with them for a little bit or play soccer in the backyard, and next thing you know, like their whole attitude changes. They stop fighting with each other. They stop whining. They just got a lot more confident in themselves. So it's a crazy thing just being a parent.
yeah. No, it's that's crazy. So tell me a little bit about your experience at Cal and what that was like. That your day to day. Because today, obviously in the league, it's different than how we were when we were in college. So talk just a little bit about your experience at school and kind of like what that was like and how that's helped develop you into where you are today.
Man, college at D2 level is different, right? You get one pair of gloves, one pair of cleats.
Yeah,
That's pretty much what you rock with, unless you kind of cool with the equipment manager, or you kind of they're broken and got holes in them. We had like one little traffic light in our whole town. Small school. It's a big
yeah,
commuter college. Um, but man, it just humbling, but a great experience, honestly. Um, Met a lot of good friends through college. I were in my wedding and everything. So, but we got a lot of D1 transfers, JUCO players and stuff like that that were at big schools, big names and stuff like that. And they also had a lot of respect for D2 once they got there and saw, we played
yeah,
in the PSAC conference, and a lot of ballers that have come out of D2. We've had a lot of
yeah.
guys come through our school and make it to the NFL, but I think it was more of you see this NIL money and stuff like that, and I'm super happy for the kids, but it is kind of crazy and out of control. Um, it's just different.
Yeah, nah, I agree because I went to a JUCO. I actually went to so out of high school I went to a D3, and then from the D3, my dad moved down to Florida, so I came down to Florida, and I was literally just I was working at Portofino. I was working down at
Mm,
Portofino, and I was working 40 plus hour weeks, and then after, I mean, it took no longer than a month for me to be like, yeah, this is not what I want for my life. Like I do not like I haven't put too much into football, what I'm saying, to just give up now. And so from there, I moved back up to Virginia and was there for about 2 months. One of my coaches put me on to Georgia Military, the JUCO, uh, junior college in Millersville, Georgia. I took a 20-hour bus ride on my birthday, on my 20th
mm,
birthday, from DC down to Atlanta, and then caught an Uber all the way from Milledgeville or from Atlanta to Milledgeville, which is about like hour and a half. And then did my workout. 3 days later, they brought me on as a walk on. They didn't have any more. They didn't have any more spot. They didn't have any more scholarships.
yeah.
In 6 weeks, I earned a scholarship. Things happen. I ended up earning a scholarship. And it that like I tell you, man, that JUCO life compared to Louisville and the D3 life compared to Louisville is night and day. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like you said, like the one glove, one pair of gloves, one shirt, one cleat, one
Well,
man,
we
and
couldn't
it's
even get
like,
protein. We didn't have no protein shake. We got chocolate milk. That was like
man,
chocolate milk. There's studies behind chocolate milk that helps recovery and this and that. Like I'm like we can't get no protein. I didn't have a meal plan.
yeah.
Like it was different. I was a preferred walk on, so I didn't really get the meal plans and all the things the other guys got. So it was tough, man. It was tough. I remember my refund check. I still have my flat screen TV. That's about the only thing I have to show with my refunds. Pretty much food and rent.
Yeah, it's that I know how that is, man. Our scholarship checks was like 200 to last us like 3 months or two and a half
Right.
months. It was
Yeah.
crazy. I was like, yeah. We were going to Walmart getting a little rotisserie chicken that's gonna
Oh
last a
yeah.
couple days.
Right.
Yeah, we was yeah. So tell me,
Everything you shouldn't eat.
literally. So tell me how. So you went from being at school, right? And then you declared your junior year, and then you went from there to then end up going back to finish school, right? Got your degree, and
Hmm.
then you and went up to Buffalo, spent $80, and had a workout up there in New York. Tell me about that
Right.
experience and kind of how you felt then to how you feel now, and I guess in perspective to, tell us a little bit about that journey. Like, how did you hear about that opportunity? What made you be like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and do this, give it one more shot.
Yeah. So I played my 4 years there, and then I used up all my eligibility. So then, nothing happens. You do your pro day, and you're supposed to wait and hear from scouts or teams and stuff like that. And I didn't hear anything. No invites to no mini camps. A lot of times they'll say, "Oh,
Mm,
he's just a camp body," meaning like we
yeah.
need somebody out there to run routes because we're not going to run all of our starters into the ground. So I was like, I'll do that. Just give me a shot. That was my thing. Always just get my foot in the door, and I'll take care of the rest.
Mm,
Um, just how I carry myself and how I can play on the field. But no, I went back to my hometown, worked at the potato chip factory. That was like the summer job, college gig job or whatever. So I did that, and then I had to go back to school, kind of like you said. Like I can't do this the rest of my life, so I'm like I gotta find an alternative. So I
mm,
went back to school to finish up my degree. Still really didn't know totally what I wanted to do with my degree. It's one of those things where I switched and only certain credits could switch over. So I'm like, well, shoot, let me just do criminal justice. It's easier.
yeah.
It's somewhat interesting to me, but by that time, my senior year, I'm like, I love the exercise science part of it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it's too late to switch now, so let me just finish up. So I want to finish up my degree to say I graduated and everything like that. But through friends and through some scouts and stuff like that, as some agents that had mentioned about this Canadian League. It was one of my boys actually was like, "Yeah, this Canadian League is interested in me." I'm like, "What's Canadian League?" So we talked about it a little bit, and then at the time, the Tiger Cats had just got a new coaching staff. So all the CFL teams would travel around the United States to certain cities and have these tryout camps. So they were like, "Hey, we want you to drive up to Buffalo and work out." So I was like, "All right." So I paid $80 at their little camp and worked out. And they called me that I worked out on a Saturday. They called me Monday and was like, "Hey, Sean Burke, Hamilton Tiger Cats, we want to offer you a contract." I was
That's
like,
crazy. Look
"Let's
at God,
go."
man. Look at
Yeah, I was
God,
like,
man.
"Let's go."
So what was your time like and with the Tiger Cats over in Hamilton Tiger Cats? What was that like? What was your time like there?
Dude, we loved it. Honestly, we loved it, and it was really awesome last year. Although, it was stressing a little bit sitting on the couch for 13 weeks waiting to get picked up by a team, but it gave me a lot of opportunities, and one of the opportunity was to go back to Canada for my first time since I left back in 2015. So I was able to go back twice actually. We went back for the Labor Day Classic against the rival Toronto Argonauts, and then I went back up because that Hamilton City was hosting the Grey Cup. So man,
Mm,
we just loved it. A lot of family time. The hours are a little different. We got a lot more downtime in the CFL than the NFL. So our twins were young. My wife and I were newly married. It was a precious moment and a great stepping stone within our marriage and as far as parenthood.
That's amazing. So, do your kids, do they remember being there, or no, not at all?
Nah, they didn't remember at all because when we went up there,
Yeah.
so we only had our twins. We didn't have our daughter or our youngest son yet. So we went up there and they're like, I remember you guys were this small. You guys used to do this, and we used to. My equipment manager will put them in like the laundry bins that everybody throws their clothes in. That
Yeah.
so they would be empty, and they would push them around and race with a twin in each one of them. So like, yeah, we used to push you in these little laundry bins or whatever, and they were just kind of looking and smiling. I think just people sharing stories about it and how welcoming and how loving that community is up there and accepting of their players and just how much they do for their players.
hmm
My kids were emotional about leaving. They cried actually. They like, Daddy, we want you to come up here and play again. They had it was so emotional. They had me thinking like, dang. I mean, I haven't got picked up yet. Should I come back up here and play one more year?
Yeah. So I remember you went back up there. It was like no November, October.
Yeah, November is the Grey Cup. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. So tell me,
yeah.
so from there, from CFL to the NFL, what was that transitional period like for you?
Again, it was one of those things where I was kind of waiting around. Your contract. I was a free agent in the CFL, but at that time, um, you can get NFL workouts or whatever. And I had my boy Delvin Bro, who played with the Saints at the time. I played with him up 2 years up in Canada. We were road trip roommates and stuff. So we would always talk about like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna ball out. Big dog, you gonna come meet me? And we're like, so we would always talk about it and kind of joke about it, but be serious about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, what are the odds of us actually both being on the same team in the NFL
yeah,
or me even getting a shot with him or whatever? So we kept talking about it. Next thing you know, he balls out for the Saints, puts in the word, like, hey, you got to work out my guy, this and that. So they finally called. That was my only NFL workout from college to 3 years in Canada. My only NFL workout. The New Orleans Saints brought me down, worked me out, and that's how my opportunity started. And
that's
then shoot,
amazing.
made the team, and then tore my ACL, both my meniscus. It's
You know I can
crazy.
relate to that.
Oh
You know
yeah,
I
I
can
know
relate
you
to that.
can. We had plenty of talks.
So, do you remember like the emotions and stuff that you felt like going into the first NFL game?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you just try to appreciate the moment and be grateful. But obviously, the energy is so hype. Funny story is, I was so hyped, especially New Orleans. If you got that, if anybody's ever been to a home game there, they turn the lights off, the fire's going,
Yeah.
they do all the introduction and stuff, smoke's going. I was like, oh yeah, let's go. Bro, I'm running out the tunnel. I go to jump to celebrate. I like tweak my calf. I'm like, come to the side. I'm like, yo, I think I tweaked my calf. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, running out the tunnel. And they're like, you're not the first one. So like tweak my calf, had to play the game with a tweaked calf or whatever. But man, just seeing the crowd and just always have those moments where you're on the sideline, you look over and like the helmets of the other opponent's team that you played against or watched growing up for all the years. I'm like, it was crazy, just surreal at times. But then obviously when you're in between the lines, it's all business,
Yeah, it's all business.
all business.
I hear you. So, so going on now, year 12, right?
Mm,
So you went from the Saints to the Raiders, right? And then
yep.
from the Raiders to the Falcons, from the Falcons now to the 49ers. What 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 experience do you feel like if you could just pick maybe it was a story, situation, or a moment that you feel like was very pivotal in your growth, as a father, as a son, as a big brother, as a younger brother, and as a husband, what do you feel like is the number one takeaway if you could single one moment out from your time with those teams, whether it's on the field or off the field?
Mm, dang, that's a tough question. One moment, one time, one season. Um, I would really say probably in 2018. I would say 2018 is when I have my boy who's one of my best friends, Dallin Levitt. He came into the league, and at this point, I was kind of already in the league for 3 years or so, and kind of always already making my way a little bit. But that we were roommates up in Napa, right, in training camp. So we were roommates.
Mm.
So we're in got to know each other really well. Sleep beside a grown man for however long training camp is. I'm like, man, I got kids. What we doing? But anyways, man, just being a big brother to him and just helping him through the struggles and the early on process of the NFL and just how cutthroat it is. And, you start worrying about things you shouldn't worry about and controllable factors. And just being a big brother to him and just watching him grow. But that's just naturally who I am. I love helping people when I can. So I think that was the first moment where I was just like, it's not about me. It's not about me grinding to the top. It's about helping other people. And then from there, I was just like, kind of like a player's coach. Obviously I was worried about doing my job and trying to make the most of my career, but at the same time I wasn't stressing about that, right? I was more like, hey, let me bring young guys along with me and help them out because they got families too. If they didn't, hopefully they will one day. So just
Maybe,
being
yeah.
just being humble and making those connections with those guys and watching them flourish in their careers.
You're a family guy, right? So, yeah, man of faith. So, what made you want to go ahead and start your brand, Having Faith? What was the big push or the big
Um,
decision factor make in that
COVID.
COVID?
COVID. Yeah, no, I mean, that's how it started. Honestly, my agent was just like, hey, I don't know how the season's going to look, if guys are going to play. I think guys are going to start selling some merchandise just to, make some money in the off season or during the season. And I always thought it was cool that guys had like certain numbers with their last name or their initials and stuff like that, and how they kind of intertwined it to make it look like a whatever it was, but like you could see their initials in it. So I was like,
Mm,
oh, that's always cool. So I'm like, all right, let me see if what I can do. So I like started sketching stuff on the plane on my way out to Las Vegas, and I was just sketching stuff, and I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. Like, I'm not gonna be number 25 all the time. Like, I'm not Tom Brady. I'm not getting 12 wherever I go. So like my
yeah,
number is not my identity. Football is really not my identity. What's my identity? So I was like, all right, let me. So I took my last name and I wrote the H, and then I was like, how can I make a cross with this? And then I came up with the three nails that represent the crucifixion of Christ, the Holy Spirit, Father, Son. Um, so just having faith, but just always, anytime I share my story, um, I always mention my faith, and through the question and answer, it's always people always talk about like, did you ever think about giving up? What kept you going and stuff like that. So it's like my faith, and I kept going back and forth. Do I say have faith or having faith? Right? We go back to elementary school and talk about ing having faith is something you got to do every single day. It's an action
yeah,
that you got to wake up and be intentional about every day. Because when you're not, you start to question yourself, you start to question your situation, why are things so hard for me, why me. But when
amen.
you're
Yeah,
constantly believing in yourself and having the faith and trying to lean on your faith and lean on those around you and your support system, um, life is a little easier.
amen. Amen to that. So, with this being said, I end every episode with the same question that I ask everybody. So the question is, what's the biggest mountain you faced, and what have you done to move it?
Ooh, biggest mountain I face. I mean, shoot, probably it would probably just be how my career started, honestly. Um, because at the time we talked about I went back to school to finish up my degree, but that winter break, my now wife, my high school sweetheart, we found out that we were having twins. So wasn't graduated yet. I was having twins, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So when we found out we were having twins, I started talking to the Air Force because I needed benefits for my kids. My biggest fear was not being able to provide for my kids. Um, and just that's what I lacked growing up, right? I never wanted to be. My dad taught me that by being absent, right? Not throwing shade, but I just something I learned in a positive way. So I wanted to give back to my family. So, um, and then just going through that process of pretty much learning how to be a husband, a father and a professional football player all in 1 year. Yeah, that was tough. That was a lot of balancing, a lot of compartmentalizing, a lot of things.
Man, it's amazing. So thank you guys for joining the podcast. Erik, I appreciate you, man. Cannot thank you enough for your time. Good luck in OTAs, man. Do your thing. Guys, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Moving Mountains for more so you don't miss a single episode. Guys, thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.